audience of paint heads. Special shout out to our viewers in Bangladesh, Northern California, and to the old abstract painter Bob in North Carolina. We're gonna run in here to the Anton Kern gallery, and we're gonna look at an exhibition by Wilhelm Sasnal. It's titled Monstera 2018, oil on canvas, 78 by 94 inches. Well, I guess the show opens today. We kind of slipped in before the official opening, but well, at least this way we can avoid the crowd, so we don't have to social distance. Well, I think I covered a Sasnal show that was downtown, maybe 8 or 10 years ago, and still get a certain number of responses from people. A lot of people are fatutzt. This is Untitled 2020, signed and dated on Verso. This is oil on burlap. Well, I was saying that some people are fatutzt. I think part of that is that Wilhelm is kind of a dispersed practice. He does a lot of various kinds of paintings, and this is titled Los Angeles 2020. And so there's a lot of kind of ideas floating around. He doesn't really spend a lot of time maybe overworking a technique or a particular modality of painting, and so he's floating around kind of grabbing things like a magpie, pick up on something. I was gonna say, this is LA, and we've got our morning fog. The press release talks about him being influenced for a lot of these pieces by a stay that he took in Los Angeles, I guess 2019, 2020, so maybe before the pandemic. This is Untitled 2020. Well, on canvas 59 by 59. So getting back to the people that were kind of distressed, I think the other thing is that has been a whole movement, a sensibility of painters here in New York for maybe the last 15 years. I think Raphael Rubinstein pointed out part of it when he was talking about provisional painting, and Sharon Butler has kind of come up with a thing called casual painting or casualism, and I think that was all basically about people that were painting, but they weren't really trying to like overwork the idea of craftsmanship and lineage and art history and kind of all the traditional things that people had been dealing with painting. This is a huge painting. It's untitled, 2019, oil on canvas. It's 119 by 180 inches, 2 panels. Anyway, getting back to the idea of the provisional or the casual, I would also include the nonchalant. Wilhelm has a kind of, as I would say, a sort of a slapdash approach. And it not only kind of goes to the way that he thinks about and maybe changes his minds and his approach to each one of the paintings, but I also think you could say that there's a certain conceptual aspect to that. And in a way that kind of relates to some other European painters. Luc Tuymans comes to mind, and also maybe Martin Kippenberger and kind of his acolyte Albert Olam. And in a certain way, that's kind of a European, maybe more cerebral version of bad painting that was kind of popular. Well, one of the versions of bad painting was popular in the mid-late 70s. This is titled Untitled. (2020). This is 78 by 110 inches. And so they were talking about him collecting various photographs and things on the internet and things on his cell phone, and kind of looking at them, and I guess they were saying very spontaneously kind of transferring them into paintings. Okay, so well, talking about the casualness, he kind of takes the blank canvases very quickly, kind of grids them out, and even leaves the grids in a lot of this, and then almost like a sketch kind of paints them in. And I think maybe one of the things that disturbs people is that the pieces don't seem like they are created out of that kind of deep existential commitment. Untitled. This is 27 by 39. So we've got our little spaceship floating along over there. Kind of recalls all of the bad 1950 science fiction movies I ever saw. And also, again, he's limited his palette down to just black and white, so that does kind of refer to black and white photography. The black and white films of the 50s. Okay. Here is a question for you art history buffs. A little trivia question. What does this make you think of? What is this a picture of? Okay. I remember sitting in a classroom and seeing a slide of this 1970 78. This is Asphalt Rundown, 2020. Oil on canvas is 78 by 55. So I believe this is based on a photograph of a piece by Robert Smithson in which he went out somewhere in the deserts. I don't know whether this was in California or Nevada, someplace, and had a truckload of asphalt dumped down a hillside and then documented all this. And I believe this was one of the projects just before he did the spiral jetty. I could be wrong. But again, we can see that this is very kind of spontaneously whipped together. We wash in some yellow ochre stains and then paint in our sky. Oh, the pickup truck is kind of articulate. Okay. There are probably a lot of stories behind these that I'm unaware of. It's titled Youth. 2020, oil on canvas, 19 by 15. Okay, so we can see his pencil lines here. And I was saying, you know, especially for some of these European artists, that there's a whole galaxy of images and things that have extraordinary cultural significance to these people that we in America don't know anything about. And I was kind of looking at this and wondering, geez, is this one of the people from the Baader Meinhof gang? I don't know. Okay, let's go upstairs. Okay, we'll make a little sweep here at the second floor gallery. This is Glue Rundown. Oil on canvas 63 by 47 inches. Okay, again, I was talking about these narratives that I'm not aware of. And this looks like something. We've got some, well, I'll make up my own little story. Looks like late 60s artsy types. Maybe they're out someplace in the countryside or junkyard or something, and somehow they're kind of, looks like, involved in something. And of course it looks like someone's got their camera there to do the documentation. Again, the painting is very nonchalant, very kind of quick, splashy, almost like a watercolor. And then when you do have the areas that he wants a little more attention to, he's more articulate, builds up a little more paint. Okay, so yeah, here are a couple of paintings that kind of illustrate what I was talking about, of him floating back and forth between genres and styles and schools. This is titled Still Life After Mondrian. 19 by 15. So I guess if he wanted to take some time and play another game, he could be a fairly good realist, at least with his still lives. That little blob of white that it becomes a shining highlight is nice, kind of echoed with the little highlights on the oranges, grapefruit. It's titled Still Life After Cézanne, oil on burlap. Well, I think it's interesting that he's got a couple of these smaller pieces on burlap, and I think one of the things I like is that I was pointing out his painting and drawing the quick kind of transitions from his sources onto the canvases with some of the other pieces. And I think with the burlap, you've got more of a struggle. You have to kind of work in the paint. You can't slip things around so easily. You really have got to spend some time filling in the weave with the paint to get things to slide around. Also, well, it's just kind of audacious to try to copy Cézanne, and even for somebody that's a serious painter, it's pretty intimidating. This is titled Roosevelt Park. Well, if you've watched the Kalm report or the rough cuts, you know I'm a fan of text. And I was thinking that in a certain way this is kind of a backhanded compliment or reference or homage to Ed Ruscha. You know, he's got a series of famous paintings of the Hollywood sign and, I don't know, 200 gas stations or something like that. So this kind of plays on that. I think you can see that Wilhelm was also masked. I think these letters, it looks like they're masking tape on there. And then, yeah, the way he does his black lines, I think he's maybe using a straight edge and very stiff brush to get those nice, sharp, straight lines. And it also kind of says something about the abject nature of a lot of roadside things. Roadside could be a park, could be a gas station, could be a store, shopping mall. Well, this is the piece that is on the poster for the show. This is untitled 2018, oil on linen, 70 by 55. Well, I think this, in a lot of ways, would be maybe the best example of, I guess, what would be the current state of the, this would be the remnants of the Trans-Avant-garde, and maybe mixing that a little bit with the new bad painting. But he's got some nice kind of visual narrative things going on here. So it's like we have the sun, but it could be the eclipse of the sun. Also, I'm noticing he's using, it looks like he's using spray paint on some of these. He's got his very sharp, clear image of the bottom of the bicycle rider. He also does a great job. I don't know what he's doing with his blacks. I wonder if that's just an ivory black with turpentine, but the blacks are extremely nice and flat. Anyway, then you've got in the shadow, you've got a kind of dematerialized glow that seems to be coming through. You know, if this was being reflected in a puddle or something like that, that would be a giant flash of light. And then he's got, the ground is very subtle with the teal blue and the kind of pale eggshell. Well, this is the biggest show, the biggest piece in the second gallery, Bushes, 2018. Okay, just the title alone is several double entendres, and well, I'm not going to get into that. This is one of the pieces where he's really just gone ahead and done some serious paint slathering. Some of this makes me think of Milton Resnick, maybe. Also, I like the way that, well, at one level he's washing in the base color and kind of staining in some things on top of that. And then maybe spray painting in on top of that. Maybe wiping some, and then slowly starting to build things up. Okay, you might be able to tell this, but if you see where some of these strokes go from a flat black to a shinier black, that's when he's building up the paint, and the oil and the pigment is getting richer and percolating out. Untitled 2020, 19 by 15. Well, I like this, and I was looking at kind of the image here and thinking, okay, so that looks like the wing of a airliner with some stars in the background, maybe the moon. It reminds me of a trip I made to Sao Paulo, and at midnight we crossed over the equator, and I looked down and I could see the Amazon River kind of glistening underneath, and then as I looked out the window I saw the moon, Mercury, Mars, maybe Jupiter, a couple of other ones. They were all lined up, and I just thought to myself, gosh, that's a pretty good astronomical show. But that kind of makes me think of that. Now, this is James Kalm reporting on Wilhelm Sasnal here at the Anton Kern Gallery. You can like this, share, link it up to all your social media sites. And you can leave your thoughts, ideas, comments, criticisms, and reviews below. We just ask you to say, thank you, Kate. Thank you, Sammy Buttons Experience.